Hi, and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be making what? Bacon. It's a homemade bourbon bacon onion jam. And I've been watching about 50 different versions on YouTube of different people doing it. And their consensus is that a lot of them use maple syrup. Now I'm not a big fan. So I'm going to replace a couple things in the recipes to make it my own. And you can do this at home too. The reason I'm starting in August is I want to experiment with this bacon jam to give as Christmas presents. And as far as I can see, you can't can it like you do jellies. You might be able to seal it up, but everybody says you must put it in the refrigerator after you make it, in the jars, and tell your guests that you give it to at Christmas to refrigerate immediately. So I'm going to show you what we're going to start with. I have a pound of bacon. Now this is thick cut bacon, and I'm going to chop it into small pieces. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, because the fact is we're going to cook it, and then at the end we'll put it in a food processor and get rid of the big chunks. So we won't obliterate the chunks at all. We will just make it chunky but smooth. Okay? So I'm going to cut the bacon up into pieces. Now they say put it in the freezer, it's easier to cut, but I had it in the refrigerator and it's doing fine, because some of them get to where you can't cut them because they're soft and warm. Keep them in the fridge, or if you have time, put them in the freezer. And like I say, this doesn't have to be perfect, and you just want to chunk it up so you can put it in the fry pan. This little guy didn't get cut. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to take you over to the stove and put this in a frying pan and show you how to cook it. Okay, first of all, you want to start out with a cold pan. And the reason you want to do that is because people say it renders the bacon better. So I'm going to start with a medium-high heat, which I will lower as soon as it starts cooking. I had to learn an electric stove, and it's been a while, and I finally perfected what temperature to put bacon on. But I want to start at 6 or medium-high. Now let me put this in the skillet. You can use cast iron skillets, you can use any skillet you want. Just make sure that your bacon is not overcrowded, because you want to separate it out so it'll start cooking. And so I'm going to separate this out. It doesn't have to be separated good, because it will pull apart when it's cooking. So I'll bring you back when when it starts cooking, and I'll show you how to turn the heat down. Okay, the bacon's almost done now. See how crispy it's getting? And I don't want to take it too far because I don't want to burn it. Now what I did is I started out with it on medium-high heat, and then when it started getting like this, like mellow, I turned it down to a medium-low. I would describe it as, on my stove, it's a 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to put it on my paper plate, and then I'm going to reserve 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease in here. Take the rest out. I do have a bacon grease jar, and then I'm going to put my onions in. Okay, I took the bacon out and put it on a paper plate with a paper towel. Look how yummy that looks. Nice and crispy, not rubbery. And now I'm going to go with the rest of the ingredients. First of all, we want to put our onions in here. Now, I was looking at the onions today, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to cut all that. Then I remembered I bought a chopper. And what I did is put everything in a chopper, and it was so easy. And I could put the link down below if you want to know the brand and everything I used. But I had in the refrigerator that I needed to get rid of before it went bad. I had bought 4 little shallots at the grocery store. That's this purple. And then I had my onions, and then I picked a jalapeno out of our pots on our porch. It was our first jalapeno of the season, and we're very proud of it because the deer didn't get to it and eat it. Anyhow, I'm going to start with the onions. Let me put the heat on medium high and start cooking these. Actually, you know, to get it started, I'm going to put it up to almost high. And I saved 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease off the bacon, and that's going to be our oil to fry our onions in. And we want to fry these down. And if you notice on the, well, I don't know if you can see it, there's some brown stuff on the bottom of the skillet. That's yummy stuff. Don't think you're going to clean it out, because you're not. So anyhow, I'm going to start frying these down, and we want the onions to turn translucent, which means clear. And actually, if you have time, take it to a further step where they start to turn a little bit brown. Okay, I'll be back when I want to show you what the onions look like, and we'll add the other ingredients. Now I have these cooked down, and they're very pretty. Look at that brown coloring. That's from the bacon grease and the stuff that was on the bottom of the skillet. And while you were gone, I added a pinch of salt. Now, there is salt in the bacon, yes, but the onions needed salt. I also put some stalks of fresh thyme in here, and the reason I did that is when this cooks down, the leaves will fall off into the recipe, and you just take the little stems out. And there was probably about five little pieces of fresh thyme. And if you don't have fresh, just use probably a half a teaspoon of dried, because the dried is stronger tasting than the fresh. Okay, now let me tell you this. Don't walk away from this dish. Stay in your kitchen, listen to music, do what you have to do, have Dad or somebody watch the kids, because the fact that you don't want anybody to get burnt. And so I always babysit some of my dishes. If it's something that needs to boil or simmer on the stove, that's okay, but this one you got to kind of watch. You don't want to burn anything. So now I'm going to put in the fresh garlic. Again, I used my chopper for this. Oh, and I need to tell you this. If you get a chopper like I did, it will cut you. I just was taking the blades out of the cupboard and got a little nick. And so you got to be careful with that thing too. And especially if you're washing them in the sink instead of the dishwasher. You probably will get cut. I always have Band-Aids close anyway. Okay, the garlic needs to cook for about maybe 1 minute, because if it stays in there, it can get burnt. Now there's a lot of moisture in these onions, and so that stops it from really getting too burnt or too well done. Okay, I'm going to start adding some of the other ingredients. This is a little bit long recipe, but remember, if you're giving it as gifts, long doesn't matter. Okay, now I want to add, I had to put everything together because I don't want to do a teaspooning here and teaspoon that. Anyway, instead of using maple syrup, I am using grape jelly. I have a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of mustard, a teaspoon of ketchup. Reasoning behind that is what do you want to put on your hamburger? Ketchup and mustard. Then I have a teaspoon of smoked paprika and a tablespoon of barbecue sauce. Okay, here we go. This is going to be exciting. I get so jazzed over cooking, you wouldn't believe. And sometimes I get carried away. I was going to put mushrooms in this, and I said, you know what? You're getting carried away, Barb. Okay, then we need a half cup of brown sugar. I'm going to mix that all up. Get that brown sugar in there. Oh, look how brown it's getting. That looks great. Okay. Next we're going to add some of our liquid ingredients. In here I have half a cup of coffee, black coffee, half a cup of bourbon, tablespoon of pickle juice. That's going to be my secret ingredient for the day. And we need a quarter cup of apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this in. Now don't worry, the bourbon will cook off. You won't have the alcohol anymore. It'll just have that dark bourbon taste. And really, all these things mixed together, the taste is going to be awesome. And don't balk over the Dijon mustard, because if you sneak it in there, people in your house don't like mustard, sneak it in there anyway because they won't be able to tell it's in there. Quarter cup of apple cider vinegar. See, what the theory is behind this is we have sweet and tangy. And what we want to do is we want to calm down the sweetness of all this. And so it's not so sweet. Now, we want this to boil down and reduce. What that means is we want the liquid to start going away. Don't put a lid on your skillet. You want it to go up into the air. And so we're going to go ahead and cook this for a while and reduce, and then we have a couple more ingredients we need to put in there to finish it off. Okay, I've been letting the onions and all the other ingredients simmer down. This is the kind of simmer you want. Low and slow. You have to be patient if you want perfection. That's my motto. So what I want to do now is I want to take our crispy bacon. My mouth is watering. And we want to put this into our jam mixture. And we're going to impart all this bacony goodness into the jam. Okay, what I want to do now is we need to let this cook, still reduce almost to a thickness like you'd find in a jam. And so I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Now we almost have it cooked down to where there's no liquid left in it. This is what you want to see. Now, a lot of recipes have what they call a finishing ingredient, and that's to bring the flavors together. This one calls for balsamic vinegar, and so I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, and we're going to put a little tiny bit of olive oil. A lot of recipes use butter, but as you know, I cannot have butter. And the reasoning behind that is to make it look shiny. Now, I'm going to let this cook for maybe 2 more minutes. Take it off the heat and then let it cool. And then I'll put it in the food processor and pulse it a couple times. We don't want to obliterate it because you won't be able to taste the bacon. In the meantime, I'm going to go make my mushroom burgers for the grill. And yes, I will be putting a glove on to mix the burgers because nobody wants to find a used Band-Aid in their hamburger. So anyhow, I'll catch you back here when we go ahead and put in the food processor after it's cooled. This is what we ended up with. It's got a jam consistency. Looks really yummy. I'm going to put it on my hamburger. I decided not to have a bun today because I really don't, I'm not in the mood for a gluten-free bun. So I'm going to put this on my burger. I put some bean salad on the side, and I'm going to taste it now. Sweet. You can't go wrong with bacon. This is really good on hamburgers. I hope you try it. You need to be patient, like I said. And I've been taking requests for my channel. Next up is going to be a breakfast casserole requested by my daughter. It's actually a tater tot breakfast casserole. And then I haven't forgot about the two of you that one of you wants coconut cream pie and the other one wants lemon meringue. You know who you are. I will get to that when the weather cools down a little bit. I do not have air conditioning, so I don't bake until probably October. So I'm going to promise you that I will make them, and I haven't forgot about you. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, share it to your friends. The more subscriptions I get, the better. And push the bell so you're notified of my next videos. And have a great day. Thank you. Bye. Hi, and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be making bacon jam, and it's bourbon barbecue. No. Can start all over again. Reason I'm starting in September. October. Well, you can stop the camera.